Welcome back to Full Court Femmes Red Storm Report. This isn't a vibes check, it's a responsibility check.
Because January in the Big East doesn't care about potential, Erin. It cares about habits.
And before the Garden lights come on for Marquette, we've got to review what St. John's just showed us in Omaha. Let's call this what it was. St. John's didn't survive Omaha. They controlled it. And they secured another quad one win.
Final score, St. John's Red Storm 90, Creighton Blue Jays 73. And the separation started immediately.
This game was functionally decided in the first 20 minutes. St. John's put up 52 first-half points and held Creighton to 34. That's not a run. That's a statement.
The shot profile tells the story. 51% from the field, 52% from three. But it wasn't jump shot basketball. Paint touches first and threes second.
And it wasn't one guy getting hot. 6 players in double figures, including Darling and Lefty off the bench. That's balance, spacing, and trust.
Lefty gave them 17 points on 5 threes. All rhythm looks created by ball movement.
And Isaiah Sellers, he added 16, 6 boards, 5 assists. And here's the key. He didn't force anything. He let the game come to him.
Now, the part of the box score that wins road games in January, rebounding.
And St. John's won it, 39-26, a 13-plus margin in Omaha. 1 shot, 1 stop. Creighton never got comfortable.
They also stayed out of the bonus. No whistle control, no free points.
And the quiet killer was pace control. Speed it up, St. John's matched. Slow it down, St. John's still got quality looks.
Not perfect, Erin. In fact, a little sloppy at times, but a grown-up game nonetheless.
Absolutely a different game than we've seen before. Zuby led it with dishes to the perimeter where shots were made.
There's one more layer here, Rick Pitino's lineup choice.
He leaned into his bigger lineup more consistently, often playing 3 forwards or centers together, and it showed again in Omaha.
This isn't accidental. After success with that look against Butler, Pitino doubled down, using size and positional versatility to pressure passing lanes and dominate the glass.
Against Creighton, that approach paid off. The big lineups controlled the paint, controlled the boards, and didn't sacrifice spacing.
That's the balance Pitino's been chasing, size without losing skill.
And when St. John's goes big, 2 things happen fast. They clean the glass, and they force ball handlers into decisions earlier than they want to make them.
That's where the transition baskets come from. That's where kick-out threes live.
And that extended run that flipped the game, that wasn't random. It was size plus playmaking, turning advantage into points.
That's not a hot night.
No, that's a blueprint for St. John's basketball going forward.
All right, we put the predictions on the line, so let's grade them with the actual numbers, not the vibes.
You know what we're doing. We're talking bold or busted. So how'd we do with bold prediction number 1? We said 16-plus turnovers and 18-plus points off of them.
Busted. Creighton only had 9 turnovers, and St. John scored 12 points off those turnovers.
The win was real, but it wasn't a turnover-fueled avalanche.
Bold prediction number 2, Creighton attempts fewer than 18 free throws.
Busted. Creighton attempted 20 free throws.
They didn't live at the line, but they got enough whistles that this one doesn't qualify as a hit.
So let's look at bold prediction number 3. St. John's wins the rebounding battle.
Hit. We got this one, Erin. 39-26 on the glass with 12 offensive rebounds.
So let's see how we did with bold prediction number 4. Creighton guards shoot under 40% from the field.
Hit. We got this one too, and this one checks out cleanly.
Against St. John's, Creighton's primary guards combined to shoot 9 for 28 from the field, which is 32.1%.
Bold prediction number 5. This game is within 1 possession inside the final 2 minutes.
Busted. St. John's had separation, and thankfully they closed early.
And here's the best part. St. John's went into Omaha and won by 17 points. That's not luck. That's a real team win.
All right, let's see how we did. Let's go to Annie calls the score.
Annie called this one 73-72 St. John's.
Actual final in Omaha, 90-73 Red Storm win.
So that's a miss, but here's the important part.
The script was right. Close early, road tension, St. John's finding a way early.
What Annie didn't account for was just how decisive St. John's would be once they took control.
That's not a bad miss, Caroline. That's St. John's outperforming the moment.
And we'll take it every time.
Yes, we will. All right. Zooming out from Omaha, here's where the league actually stands after the weekend.
No projections, no bracket talk, just the board. UConn sits alone at 6-0. Right behind them, Seton Hall, Villanova, and St. John's are locked together at 4-1. Then you've got Creighton at 4-2, followed by DePaul and Xavier at 2-4, and Marquette at 1-5.
And that tells you everything about this league. There's a clear top, a tight chase pack, and absolutely no soft landing anywhere else.
For St. John's, that 4-1 spot matters. It's a better position than they were in coming out of December, and it reflects growth, not chaos. They're organizing possessions, adjusting in real time, and winning both home and road games.
Saturday didn't clarify the picture, it added texture. UConn handled DePaul with depth and consistency. Villanova had to survive at Marquette 76-73 and needed every possession to do it.
And that's the truth of this conference, Erin. Records don't protect you. Even teams at the bottom can stress you for 40 minutes.
And that brings us to the Garden, where Marquette doesn't care about the standings.
It's where they show up and ask how steady your decisions really are.
So Marquette is 6-11 overall and 1-5 in Big East play. That record won't beat anyone by itself, but the way they play matters.
Their latest outing was a 76-73 loss to Villanova, where Marquette almost stole it, trailing by single digits with possession in the final seconds.
And that Villanova game tells us what Marquette is, a team that thrives on disruption, forces mismatches, and scraps for every possession, even if the end result doesn't always tell the story.
Their team's offensive profile, roughly 75 points per game, 36.7 rebounds, 15.4 assists, and about 40.8% shooting overall. That's neither elite nor efficient.
But the pressure they bring is real.
And there are 3 players that can hurt you in very different ways.
So let's take a closer look at those players. First up is Chase Ross. He's known as the disruptor. He sets the tone, averaging about 15 points per game, playing 32 minutes a night, and brings nonstop defensive energy.
Against Villanova, he pressured ball handlers, jumped passing lane, and forced decisions before offenses were ready to make them. And that's where Marquette's chaos begins.
Ross didn't light up the scoreboard, but his defensive activity dictated matchups and sped the game up. When Ross is engaged, Marquette feels alive.
Then there's Nigel James, a guy who can flip a game in 5 minutes.
Saturday against Villanova, James went for 31 points and 7 threes. That's not system offense, that's confidence and shot making.
He's streaky, but dangerous. If you lose him in transition or go under a screen once, he's the type who starts pulling from deep and changing the map.
You don't let James see one go in early, because once he does, Marquette's pressure suddenly has a scoreboard to pick it up.
And then there's Ben Gold, the piece that quietly makes everything else work.
Gold is averaging about 8 points and 6 rebounds, but his real value is spacing. He drags bigs out, forces help decisions, and opens driving lanes.
If you overhelp on Gold, you give up kickouts and weak side finishes. If you lose him on the second side, that's instant momentum.
He doesn't need volume. He needs attention. And if he doesn't get it, Marquette's offense breathes easier.
Ross creates chaos. James converts chaos into points. Gold stretches the floor so it all fits.
All right, so let's talk keys to the game. We know the Garden isn't a neutral gym. It amplifies every decision that's made.
Key number 1, slow your own mind. Marquette doesn't need to outplay you. They need you to rush yourself.
They want hurried shots, late reads, and passes thrown a beat too slow. St. John's has to play at its pace, not react to Marquette's pressure tempo.
Against Creighton, St. John's is patient and deliberate. That same calm has to travel to the Garden.
So key number 2, pass pressure. Don't dribble into it. This is non-negotiable.
Marquette's pressure feeds on over-dribbling. Every extra bounce lets them load up, swipe down, and jump lanes.
Ball movement beats pressure. East-west movement stretches it. The pass has to come before the trap arrives.
Key number 3, converts chaos into points. This is where Marquette games swing.
Against Villanova, Marquette stayed alive because broken possessions didn't always get punished.
St. John's did the opposite at Creighton. When they broke pressure, they scored. Layups, kick-out threes, free throws. If you don't score after breaking pressure, you've wasted energy and invited the next wave.
That leads us to key number 4, defensive poise after misses. Marquette scores when teams sulk.
Miss shot, sprint back. Miss layup, build a wall. No complaining, no jogging.
They feast on emotional gaps. Kill momentum immediately or it snowballs.
Key number 5, own the paint without fouling. Marquette loves to bait contact.
They'll drive into crowds, initiate contact, and test discipline. St. John's has to wall up, contest vertically, and finish possessions without gifting points.
Make them score over bodies, not at the line.
So if you're keeping track, this game isn't about schemes, it's about decisions.
Slow your mind, move the ball, punish pressure, kill runs before they start.
If St. John's does those things, the numbers fall into place.
And when the numbers matter, that's when we stop talking theory and start putting something on the board.
All right, we're going to put it on our board. It's that time. The time for Bold and Busted. New opponent, new context, new board.
These aren't generic pressure predictions. These are built off what Marquette just showed against Villanova and St. John's just proved in Omaha.
So let's put them on the record.
Bold prediction number 1. St. John's commits 12 or fewer turnovers.
Marquette stayed alive against Villanova by speeding the game up and forcing mistakes.
St. John's did the opposite at Creighton. They valued possessions and never let the game spiral.
If St. John's stays at 12 or fewer, Marquette's pressure loses its leverage.
Bold prediction number 2. Marquette scores fewer than 14 points off turnovers. Here's the difference between pressure and payoff.
Against Villanova, Marquette created chaos, but didn't always convert it cleanly.
If St. John's makes them execute in the half court instead of cashing chaos, the math flips fast.
All right, so let's look at bold prediction number 3. St. John's shoots 48% or better from the field. This is a bet on shot quality.
Against Creighton, St. John's didn't rush. They got paint touches first and threes second.
If St. John's stays efficient, Marquette can't pressure its way into the game.
Bold prediction number 4. Nigel James is held under 20 points. This one matters, Erin.
Yes, it does, because James just went for 31 against Villanova and kept Marquette alive almost by himself.
Make him work. Make him take tough twos. Don't let him flip the math.
And on to our last bold prediction. Prediction number 5 says that St. John's wins the run game. No Marquette run longer than 8-0. This is the Garden pressure test.
Marquette doesn't win by dominating. They win by stringing together chaos runs.
Against Creighton, St. John's answered every push immediately.
If Marquette never gets a sustained run, their style collapses into inefficiency.
And if these hit, these bold predictions, St. John's didn't just win, they controlled the environment.
If they bust, it won't be about effort. It'll be about decision-making under pressure.
And that's what January basketball at the Garden exposes.
All right, we've put the keys on the table and the bowls on the board.
We've talked pace, pressure, and where this game will actually turn.
Now it's time to stop hedging.
No spreadsheets, no backdoors.
Just a number.
This is Annie Calls the Score.
This game has pressure written all over it, but it doesn't have panic.
The Red Storm break pressure with passes, not dribbles, and they don't let runs breathe.
St. John stays efficient, keep turnovers under control, and never lets Marquette string together chaos.
The final score, as predicted by Annie, St. John's 82, Marquette 70.
Not a blowout. It's a controlled win with a comfortable spread.
This game is not about toughness, Caroline.
It's about clarity.
Slow your mind, move the ball, punish pressure.
Do that, and Marquette's chaos turns into noise, not points.
And there's no time to exhale.
Because after Marquette, St. John's Red Storm hits the road for another Big East test, this time at Villanova.
They walk into the Fen on Saturday, January 17th, on the road in a building that demands execution.
Villanova doesn't play chaotic basketball. They play deliberate basketball. They make you guard, they make you think, and they punish lapses differently than Marquette does.
Which means the lessons from this stretch will matter. How St. John's handles pressure at the Garden directly informs how they'll survive patience at Villanova.
We'll be back Friday, January 16th with a brand new episode of Full Court Femmes Red Storm Report.
And we'll recap what actually happened against Marquette, bold or busted, no spin, and get you ready for the Villanova matchup with the same honesty and accountability.
Make sure you've subscribed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube so you don't miss it.
Because January doesn't slow down, and neither do we.
No hype, all hoops.